Hey, good morning. And well, we are back, and I'm going to talk a little bit about something different. Now, I do like my computer games. You've seen me play plenty of World of Tanks, plenty of World of Warships games. You've seen me play Undertale. You've seen me play Faster Than Light. Soon you're going to be seeing me play Mass Effect Andromeda. Uh, but I do like me some turn-based board game action as well. And with that, I wanted to talk for a few minutes about this particular game. It's Memoir 44, and it's by Days of Wonder, actually designed by Richard Borg, and it's a pretty good game. It does a fairly good job of simulating some of the command and control problems that you have with the troops. Actually, in real life, there's been cases where actually in real life where an armored assault was going on, got to a crossroads, and then everything stalled because they just did not know where to go or which way they were supposed to go or what their commander wanted because there was no communications available. But anyway, that being said, I'm just going to talk very, very briefly about this, and I'll show you some gameplay. But it's like I said, it's a fairly simple game, and it's frankly more of a game system than it is directly a game. I don't know if you're familiar with the old Avalon Hill Squad Leader series or the Panzer Blitz Panzer Leader series. Both of those were a good framework onto which expand a game system. And Memoir 44 has that same capability. Now, the original game, which is what I've got here, features German and American forces, although, of course, the Germans also get tanks and artillery, and the Americans, of course, also get infantry. But that being said, there's no qualitative difference between a stack of German armor or a stack of American armor, or German infantry and American infantry. They are exactly the same thing as far as the game rules go. There is no difference between them. They don't handle any differently. So it's just a matter of the color of the unit that you're playing with. Now, there are ways that you can make these into elite troops within the rules, and that's fine. But again, if you're playing the Germans, they handle just like the Americans. The only difference is where you might be sitting. Well, you're going to be sitting on the opposite side of the map. Now, speaking of the map, here it is, and it's a big blank space, but that's fine because the game also comes with these little terrain markers, and we've got forests and hills and hedgerows, and let me see if I can find some. Okay, yeah, there's a village, and there's a river which you can use to make lakes or rivers, or you just indicate swamps or something. But something else on the map I want to show you, and I don't know how well you can see it, but we'll come a little closer here, and maybe not, but right there's a vertical dashed red line, and that is what divides the map into multiple sectors, and which is a very interesting mechanic because it goes back to what these command cards do. Now, you get dealt a handful of these command cards based on the scenario setup that you're playing, but the command cards will let you do certain moves only in certain sectors, or certain moves only with certain units. So, for example, you might be lucky enough to draw an armored assault card, which will let you use a handful of your tanks. But you can only move your tanks if you play the armored assault card. On the other hand, you might get this probe card for the center sector, and that means that too indicates you can only activate and use 2 of your units of any type, but only 2 of those units in the center sector. You might have something that gives you a little bit more flexibility, 3 units in the center sector, or you might get something that only allows you to move 1 unit, well, in this particular case, on the left flank. But it gives you a slight advantage because at the end of your turn, when you draw to refill your hand, which is only going to be 1 card almost all the time, you get the option of drawing 2 cards and discarding 1, so you get to keep the card. So it gives you a little bit more tactical flexibility for the next turn. So how does it play? Like I said, overall, pretty good. It's a fun, quick game. You can sit down and play a scenario if you know the game, actually fairly quickly, and maybe anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending again on how well you and your opponent know the game. There's a few things you might have to go back to the rule book and dig up, but it's certainly a lot easier than digging through the encyclopedia that were the squad leader or the Panzer leader rule books. So, but really, it's of course a dice-based mechanic, and you see the dice right here. And when combat occurs, depending on the range that you are from your the opponent's target, excuse me, from whatever it is you're shooting at, and depending on the type of unit you're shooting, you roll anywhere from 1 to 4 dice. And you can see the roll distribution here. But if you are attacking and you roll an infantry on the die, you actually do damage to an infantry unit. But if you roll a tank on the die and you're shooting an infantry unit, no damage. If you roll a grenade on the die, you do damage to whatever it is you're shooting at. If you roll a flag on the die, that forces the enemy to retreat, and a star is a miss. Although in some cases, stars are good things, and we'll come back to that and show you that. That makes infantry kind of vulnerable, but that was true in real life. Armor is a little tougher, but a third of the time on any die roll, you're going to get a hit against armor. Artillery is actually kind of hard because the only thing that's going to damage them is going to be a grenade or possibly a flag. But that's something else we can talk about. So again, how does it play? You know what? I'm going to show you how it plays here in just a minute. And you know what? With that, yeah, let's take that minute. See you in a minute. Alrighty, this is Memoir 44 online, as you can see. And when you buy a copy of Memoir 44, on the back of the rulebook, it comes with a code. So if you log on to the Days of Wonder website, you can register your copy of Memoir 44 with them. And the code allows you to play the game online. And you can also download this off of Steam and play for free. And it's a reasonably good and very quick to play, that is, version of the board game. And so let's go ahead and jump in there and take a look. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play Operation Cobra because that's a pretty good one. It's got a good mix of units on each side. And you notice I hit the play solo button. You can play this against other players online, but I'll come back and talk about that here in a moment. So anyway, here's your briefing screen, and the first thing it does, it gives you the rules, and in this particular case it tells you how many command cards you get, what your conditions of victory are, and what the special rules are. In this particular case, the Axis Special Forces tank unit has 4 figures, so they're going to be a little tougher to deal with. And then it gives you a historical context for the scenario. Not really too worried about that right now, because I just want to get into this and not keep you any longer than we have to. So it loads very, very quickly, and there we go. So it gives me a lot of tactical options. Here's the cards I have available to me, and if I right-click on the card, it shows me exactly what it does. And in this particular case, I like the General Advance option. It's going to give me 2 units in each section to move. So we're going to start off very aggressively here, or fairly aggressively. So what I do is I will order. During the order phase, I will order my units to move. Now, there's some limitations on what they can do when they move. One big one, at least, is that when you move a unit into new terrain, for example, the hedgerows or the forest, it's not allowed to fire after moving. But on the other hand, I think it's very important for me to get my troops into some sort of cover and also increase the field of fire that they have. This might be a tactical mistake on this left flank here, moving this infantry unit here, because he's going to be able to be attacked by multiple units, but we will see what happens. So on the right flank, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do this. Now, one advantage to being in these squares that are being bisected by the red sector lines is that units in those sectors are considered to be in either, that's a miss, either
the sector to the right or to the left. Now, so anyway, going back, the infantry normally gets 3 dice against adjacent targets, 2 dice, and then 1 die. Another miss. And armor normally gets 3, but being in a hedgerow actually protects the unit that's in the hedgerow, gives them a terrain benefit. So I draw a fresh card, which is close assault, which is not very useful to me yet, but it's going to be here soon. And yeah. Okay. Now, victory conditions are based on victory markers. And victory markers are owned by completely destroying an enemy unit or taking taking terrain that have well, let's see. Wait a second here. Let's make a decision. You know what? We're going to do that because I think that's going to be an excellent idea. I get to order all units on one particular front, and in this particular case, I'm going to bring everything to bear. So I'm selecting the right flank, or sorry, I have to select the right flank, and now I'm going to move. And this is going to give me a chance, again, to bring as much possible to bear. Now, infantry can move 2 spaces and not attack, or 1 space and attack. And if that's the case, and I screwed up. So, alright, that's alright. I'm going to get my armor right here. If that's the case, you know, the closer you are to enemy infantry, the better off you are. So, tanks can move up to 3 spaces, but they always fire with 3 dice. So there's no limitation on, you know, what... there's some limitations on how they move. But, anyway, we are ready to start shooting. So, this tank, I'm going to go ahead and fire at this particular infantry. Well, no, actually, I'm going to wait. And I'll show you why in here in a second. This infantry can only fire at this infantry. So, not too shabby. This infantry, I have a choice. But in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance. And I'm going to attack with the tanks against this infantry. And I roll 2 hits. And now I have the option to conduct an armor overrun, which is yes, which means I can move into that space. I get to move into that space and make a second attack against a second unit. So, all I'm doing is when I'm designating these attacks, I'm clicking on the unit, clicking and holding on the unit, and then dragging and dropping its attack. So, 1 hit and force them to retreat 1 space. And that's okay because, well, you know what? I don't want to take ground because I can't move through this river. So, I'm going to go ahead and fire with my infantry. And that's pretty much it on that side. That's all I can do. I think that was pretty effective. And he's issuing the assault order to all his units on his right flank. Ow! Okay, he just destroyed completely one of my infantry. He picks up. I'm going to retreat to right here because it gives me some cover. And I take 1 hit there. Now, if you cannot retreat, you have to treat those dice as actual damaging dice. So, I'm not in very good shape over here, but on the other hand, or at least it doesn't appear to be, but on the other hand, I have a close assault. So, issue an order to all infantry and or armor units adjacent to enemy units. They battle with 1 extra die. That's what I'm going to do. So, oops. You got to be kind of careful because sometimes you get ahead of yourself, but there's my order. I'm not going to move. Or sorry, under the close assault they can't move, they must just attack. So, and then I'm going to get 8 dice against this infantry unit over here. And that is not a roll I wanted to see. That, on the other hand, is a roll I like to see. And he's forced to retreat. Do I want to take ground? In this particular case, again, the answer is no, because I'm better off staying in the hard cover of this forest.
Move out!
And now he gets a move out attack. He gets to bring in a lot of infantry to bear. And if he rolls a flag, I'm going to take a casualty because, again, there's no place for me to retreat. So you've got to be careful about that. And that was lucky on his part. All right, I am going to use the medics and mechanics card here. I issue an order to a unit that's suffered casualties, and I roll multiple battle dice for them. And in this particular case, if I roll a star plus the or the unit symbol, I get to restore the unit up to much more health. So I also get to issue an order to that unit. So I'm going to go ahead and move, and I'm going to swing out on the flank here, just so if I do need to retreat on another attack, I can. But I'm going to stop right there again on that hex because it gives me. It could have been better. Should have been better. Because it gives me more tactical options with this unit on a subsequent move. So, and he is going to dither around, it looks like. Do a little do-si-do. Ow, come on. Okay. That's all right, because I'm going to counterattack. Issue the same order just played by my opponent, but the flanks are flipped. And I can order up to 3 units. So tank, and infantry. So order is done. Move. No, you know what? No, I'm not going to move. I will move this one. That will give me a chance to shoot at that. But this tank unit I'm going to leave in place. So done. So battle again. This tank can only shoot at one target. So we'll roll him first. I roll a retreat flag. That means he takes damage. So I want this tank to fire here, because again I get to roll 3 dice at the range I'm at. Oh, it's only going to let me shoot at this one, so oops. And some of the attacks that you have set up after you move can be affected by attacks that you conduct against other units. So for example, you might be thinking, okay, good, I can advance into a square with this unit. Well, if you kill the enemy unit, you can't attack with your unit, and you basically lose your attack. Alright, this infantry is going to get chewed up over here. Now, if you look up here in the upper right corner, you notice I've got 3 units lost. And, he does not get chewed up at all, which is very handy. And, you know what? I'm going to have to play something funky here. So, issue an order to 1 infantry unit. You may move up to 3 hexes, and then after movement can move 3 hexes. This unit's in pretty tight difficulty, and I could play that one, move it, and then run them away. I could, on the other hand, play my recon, which I'm going to do, and I'll tell you the reason for that here in just a second. I'm going to move this unit right here, and I'm going to move him 1 space, and he's done. And oh crap, it won't let me battle because I moved into a forest hex this turn. But the thing is, it gives me 2 cards, the choice of 2 cards, and both are good. but I might need that infantry assault. It's a little bit better. So all right, I lose one more. But I don't want to be completely shut out on this flank. And the reason for that is if I am shut out on the flank, any cards that I have that give me options only to use this flank mean I have no options on that flank. On the other hand, yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this Recon and Force card. Gives me 1 unit on each sector. One there, and that's an automatic because he's the only unit in that sector, so we're done. So I'm going to move him here, and we're done. Now it's time to battle. And you can see the command and control problems I'm having, and that probably he's having. He probably has no cards that are useful for the center. I'm going to go ahead and try to kill this infantry unit because the fewer guns shooting at me, the better. And I think that would have been a good one to use against these tanks because I would have rolled 2 hits on the tanks. So no. But now this tank. Yeah. Sometimes RNG just doesn't like you very much. So that's it. I finished my battles. Come on. There we go. Sometimes it hangs for just a second or two. There he goes. Okay. So I take a hit. That's all right. Now, again, it's coming back here. Do I use this behind enemy lines, or do I use all infantry units in a section? I will go with the all infantry units in a section because it's going to give me, again, a chance to move some of these guys into position. So we're going to select the center section. Done. These guys, you're going to have to stand in there and hang. So, good luck. I'm going to move him up. And this one, if I move here, well, that one doesn't have any place to go, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. So, done moving. Battle time. And these guys... Well, you know what? Let's fire these guys first, because if they have to retreat... Now, the AI tends to be pretty blunt about its options. It just wants to get down here and kill units. And that, frankly, that's not a bad strategy. So the AI overall is not too... It's not too funky as far as that goes. That wasn't good. So, I don't want to assault on the unit, but on the other hand, if I use a probe, let's do that. 2 units in the center, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And this is a case of me leaving somebody out to dry, hanging out to dry, but it might be one of those cases where I have to do it. So, get a hit on that armor, which is good. And now, that was a very good roll. Not only do I do a couple of figures, but I force him to retreat. And I'm going to say, actually, you know what? I would normally say yes, but in this case I don't want to because I'll end up in this hex and I'll be able to be shot at by multiple infantry units. Again, the tactical play is somewhat simplistic. Ow! Well, I'm glad he didn't do that against somebody else. But anyway, the tactical play is somewhat simplistic, but one of the things you do want to do is concentrate your firepower on enemy units. Oh, come on! And that is it. So, I lost. Didn't quite have some luck that I needed, which is okay, because this is, I mean, obviously if you're rolling dice, and it gives you just the stats on the dice you rolled, it is a luck-based game, and of course, getting the right cards at the right time, or at least having the right cards in your hand to use at the opportune moment, is also important as well. So let's go back, and here's the on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a list of folks who are online who are willing to play online battles with you. Some of these folks have been on here for a lot. Some of these folks, like this cadet right here, he hasn't played any battles at all. Now, you're probably asking yourself, okay, hey, is this a free-to-play game and you have to pay for it or whatever? It is free-to-play, but there's a problem, because if you look up here in the corner, on the upper right corner, you'll see a little bar of gold, and it says 11 on it. That's how much gold I have. Playing Operation Cobra here for you just cost me 3 of the 14 gold that I started the day with. And how do you buy gold? Yeah, you pay for it. You get 50 when you originally register for your account. They will give you 50 free gold. But if you want to keep playing after you've used those gold, you've got 2 choices. You can play scenarios like Pegasus Bridge, which has a 0 cost, or you can buy more gold. Is it worth it? You know what? That's not really my call. It comes back to how much you like the game, how much you want to play the game, how much money you have that you're willing to throw at the game. Now, obviously, if you buy the board game, it's not gonna cost you anything out of the gate. Or excuse me, it's going to cost you what the board game costs out of the gate, but it's not going to cost you anything after that. Whereas, you start playing this, it's not going to cost you anything out of the gate, but if you want to keep playing at least the more, interesting scenarios, then yeah, well, it's going to cost you some. It's going to cost you some real money. So is that something you want to do? Again, that's not my call. That's that's a decision you have to make for yourself. So, well, anyway, that's Memoir 44, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found this interesting. And again, if you need your turn-based a turn-based game fix, this is an excellent way to do it. It's just it's just going to be a temporary thing. On the other hand, if you can find some live opponents and play your board game face-to-face, that's a good way to do it as well. So this just plays a lot faster than you can play if you're playing on the board. So anyway, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. And who knows, this might give you an idea for somebody's birthday present, or maybe a little present for yourself. You never know. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.